You are not selling a product. Can I be really clear about this? They are not what people are buying from you, at least not yet. What they're buying is you. You are what you're selling. And once you get that, once you understand that, it will change how you show up on social media forever. Well, hey there, and welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind, and I'm here to give you social media strategies to help you grow your business in a real way that is congruent with who you are. This episode is going to be very much about exactly that. So many people say to me, I don't feel comfortable with the strategies that I'm being taught to use on social media because they don't feel in alignment with who I am, how I speak, and who I want to reach. And this is a fundamental problem because there is no one way to do social media. And so when people are trained with one method, one duplicatable, we've all heard that word so many times, one duplicatable method that everybody can use on social media, we are setting people up to fail right from the get-go. What I'm here to show you is that you have a recipe that is yours. Why? Because you are unique. Your personality is unique. Your audience is unique. Your passion and why you're in this business is unique to you. And so therefore you have your own unique recipe to show up with. But here is the most important thing that you need to keep in mind as I give you these strategies today and we get into this episode, and it's this. You are not selling a business opportunity. You are not selling a product. Can I be really clear about this? They are not what people are buying from you, at least not yet. What they're buying is you. You are what you're selling. And once you get that, once you understand that, it will change how you show up on social media forever. But it will also change the way that people do business with you forever. Because there are loads of products out there, let's face it, that compare to what you have. You may have the best in the world. You could have the best in the world, but nobody's going to care about that until they care about you. And so what I want to talk to you about today is how to show up in a real, raw, and relatable way. Why? Because people want to know you, but also because that's what the platforms want. So let's dive into this episode. We're going to explain why this is so important, and I'm going to give you 3 key strategies today to help you show up as the incredible person that you are so that you're selling you and your audience can't help but lean in and pay attention. So let's get going. Okay, so one of the things that I just mentioned to you was that the platforms are prioritizing real, raw, relatable content. Let's just talk about that for a moment. In 2025 and leading into 2026, we know that what is being prioritized now is content that doesn't leave people asking the question, is that real? Because we've seen the rise of AI create a situation where the platforms are saying now, we know that over 40%, that's nearly half of all the content that's out there on social media right now is AI generated or created. This means it leaves people with that question, what can I trust? What's real? What's actually human anymore? Now, I'm not here to diss AI. I think that there is absolutely a place for it and we need to embrace it because it is the world that we live in now. But let's just come back for a little second. What we're dealing with at the other end of that mobile device or the other end of that computer screen is indeed a human being. And if you want to grow your business, people need to feel like they're dealing with the real you. There is a place for AI, and I'll cover that in an upcoming episode. I really want to get into this and talk about the use of AI on social media because this is actually critical going into 2026. But let's today just talk about the opposite of that, which is how do you be real? How do you be raw? How do you be relatable? Now, let's just talk about Meta for a moment. Now, Meta is the overarching body that covers Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, X, Threads. Oh, even getting myself all muddled up with all these platforms now. But the thing that you've got to keep in mind is that Meta is a big organization, and we often fall into the trap, by the way, of assuming that just because Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same company, that they run the same way. You could not be making a bigger mistake by making that assumption. So please don't use the platforms in the same way. They do need to be used slightly differently. We've covered that before. We'll talk about that more in upcoming episodes as well, because I really want to get into some more strategy with you over the coming weeks and months. But where I'm going with this is that Meta have made it very, very clear that across their platforms, one thing they are prioritizing, and that is real, raw, unedited, unique content. These are posts that exist only once, not the posts that were shared, not the posts that were reposted, not the posts that were adapted and reposted again a second or third time. These are the posts that have shown up only once ever on the platform. These are the posts that are the real posts, the ones that you create. They want unedited, real, raw, relatable, because they know that it's what people respond to. And what is their ultimate aim? Keep people on their platform. They want you coming back over and over and over again. What do you like? Well, this is the key here. Also, pay attention to what gets your attention, because it's likely that that's also going to get the attention of your audience. And what gets your attention? Stuff that's unedited, stuff that's real, stuff that's raw, stuff that's relatable, stuff that's human, and makes you feel like you connect and you belong. Now, as I go into some tips here, I want to give you 3 strategies to help you do this. And I'm actually, as I was thinking about these strategies, I got to thinking about conversations I had on this podcast with other guests about each of these strategies. And I'm going to refer to those, because if any of them stand out for you, I really encourage you, go back and listen to those episodes and take note of what these incredible guests have talked about and how they've used these strategies themselves. But I want to just remind you that people don't remember what you say, but they do remember how you make them feel. And how you make them feel actually is a lot about how you show up. Now, where I'm going with this is that one of the things I've talked about a few times, particularly when I did the episode about wiping off the dust, and I talked about the highlight reel. And so this is where I'm going to go into tip number 1 here. Tip number 1 is to show the messy middle, not just the highlight reel, not just the end result. And the reason I bring this one up is because I myself get quite intimidated, as I'm sure you often do as well, when you see constant posts from perfect people. And perfection is wonderful. You know, if you want to show up with your perfect face on all the time and with, perfect edited videos and perfectly laid out photographs, fine, but it's not life. It's the highlight reel. And what happens when you do this is it leaves people feeling less than. It leaves people asking themselves the question, can I even compare to that? Now, I want to refer actually to a couple of things here with this one. One of them is a podcast guest, but one of the other things that come to mind when I think about this is a top leader in a company that I had the honor of coaching a few years back. I spoke at a convention in the US, and when I was at this convention, I got off the stage and I had this leader come up to me, and she said, I've got all of these followers on Instagram, but they're not turning into anything. And she said, the problem is that I've got this huge team who are coming to me asking me how to do social media, and they're watching me and thinking I'm really successful because I've got all of these followers and people that look at my stuff, but no one's actually interacting with it. And therefore I feel like I can't teach what I do because it's not really working. It's not helping me grow my business. And this is such a common problem because there are 2 very different ways that social media gets used. Way number 1 is you just become almost entertainment in a way. And that's fine, but that doesn't grow a business. Getting lots of followers isn't necessarily beneficial if they're not converting into anything. And so that's why we talk about the 3 legs. You need to be attracting new leads. You need to be converting those sales, but you also need to be retaining the people you have. And so if you are really great at attracting people to your social media, but you're not very good at converting them, your business isn't going anywhere. This beautiful person came up to me and said, look, would you coach me and help me to turn these followers into customers and team? And I've had this situation come up dozens and dozens of times over the last couple of years with people who've had massive following and it's just not getting them anywhere. So I could use so many instances to explain how this works, but also how it becomes problematic because it really does get you stuck in a rut. So don't chase the followers is my point with this. But this particular person said, look, help me out, Sam. And I did some coaching with her. And the first thing that I noticed was that everything was perfect. She was gorgeous. She always had her hair perfectly done, her makeup perfectly done, designer clothes. She was hiring in and paying, because she could afford to, because she had such a big business, a professional photographer to do shoots for all her social media content. Now, a couple of problems with this. Problem number one is, if you're teaching people in your team that this is how it's done and it's not possible for them to do it that way, which, let's face it, even I couldn't do that. I couldn't be bothered. I wouldn't want to pay the money to do that. And it's just not time efficient, right? To be hiring in a professional photographer every time you want to create some new content for social media. And so there were a couple of problems. It wasn't duplicatable. It wasn't teachable, but here was the worst part of the whole thing. It wasn't relatable. Her content left people, including me, by the way, looking at her posts going, wow, she is so perfect. She looks so beautiful. Everything is beautiful. Her home is beautiful. Everything is so beautiful. I'm not going to join the business with her. I'm not going to buy the product from her, because it's not going to be like that for me. I can't be like that. I can't compare to that. And so what you've got to remember is, when you position yourself here, it leaves other people thinking, well, they're amazing and I look up to them and I think they're great and I love watching them on social media, but I can't be them. And so if people think to themselves they can't be you, they can't compare to you, they can't relate to you, they're not going to join you. So, first of all, showing the messy middle is actually very strategically beneficial for you to do. So, I want to just, use an example of this, which is a beautiful guest that came onto this podcast. And I went back and had a little look, because I was like, I need to refer you to this one so you can go check it out. We'll put it in the show notes as well. But the episode was actually one I did with Jerry Taylor Swade, who was the very original Senegence distributor when Senegence started out. So she has been around the tracks for a long, long time in this industry. And Jerry tells the story in this episode about how sharing the messy middle actually skyrocketed her business. And I remember her, I've referred to this so many times, but I vividly remember her telling this story about how the company brought out this eyelash product, the, stick-on glue-on eyelashes, and she had a decision to make. Decision number one was, I figure out, because she'd never used eyelashes before, she didn't feel very confident using eyelashes, and she thought, how am I going to sell these? So she thought, I could go and get it right and perfect it, and then do a video, do a post, and show up on social media in the perfect way. Like a lot of us, let's face it, do. We're like, I'm going to get it right and then I'll show up. Well, what she decided to do was the opposite of that. And it was the best possible decision she could have made. Instead, she showed up and did a live trying to figure this product out. She was like, hey, we're all going to do this together. Like, if you get this product, if you buy this product, you're going to need to figure it out. So I'm doing that right now. Let's do this together. And she showed up and she did a live. She said she had glue dripping down her face. She had eyelashes everywhere. It was a mess. And what happened was incredible for her. She said that maybe she didn't sell a whole lot of eyelashes, but what happened was her business skyrocketed in all other areas, because it left people thinking, if you can be honest about that, then I know that when I ask you which lip color is going to suit me or what skincare product I really truly need, you're going to be truthful with me. You're going to be honest and real. Plus, I feel like I can totally do this business because I don't have to understand it or know it back to front to work it. We'll figure it out along the way, because Jerry just figured it out along the way. So show up by showing the messy middle. Don't just show the highlight reel. And I can honestly tell you right now that those moments where I've shown up on social media and shared that messy middle, Addie asleep on my chest, backstage, in between the professional presentations that I'm doing, me with her, in the airport sick, or, me stressed out and nervous about getting on stage or doing a presentation, or, the crazy things that happen in our lives that are the messy middle. The things that are not the perfect part are the part where people lean in and say, and I will often get many messages privately sent to me thanking me for showing up and sharing that I don't always have it all together, because it leaves other people knowing, not feeling like, because the truth is that this is the real me and that is the real you. But it leaves people knowing that they're not alone. It leaves people knowing that they're connecting with someone who's just like them. And so that is where the beauty is. That's where the business growth opportunity is. And that's where social media is going to prioritize your content. So show up with the messy middle, not just the highlight reel. The second tip that I've got for you is one that, again, I think came to me from an episode that I did with someone who's become a very, very special friend now. But she said something during this episode when I asked her the question, if you could go back and start your business again and start your marketing strategy again, what would you do differently now, knowing what you know? And the thing that she said to me was like a mic drop and such. And I've actually watched her now do this exact process in the starting of another business. So I know that she wasn't making it up because she actually put this into place. And she said, the one thing that I would do differently that I didn't do back then was document. Now, what she meant by that is documenting the journey. Now, this particular person is Gaia Samarasinger, who was the founder of Kalaya Beauty Products, an amazing company. And she came onto this podcast and she shared her story. And she talked about how she came about the product and how she marketed the business, how she got it to take off, and all of the amazing things that she did. Well, during this process, Gaia said that she didn't show up on social media and she didn't show up on email and she didn't show up marketing her business until she was ready and until it was perfect. She didn't document the journey. She didn't document the creation. She didn't document the ups and downs, highs and lows. She didn't document the decisions she was making along the way. She just showed up with a perfect product. And what she said happened was that people didn't get the incredible story of how it came about, how it came to be. They just saw this perfect looking product and it didn't have a story and it didn't mean anything. Here's the thing to remember. People are buying the story. And one of the things that makes this industry so incredibly powerful is the story. You know, look at your company and the founder that you have. And in most cases, there is an amazing story behind these products, behind this business. Somebody started it in the living room, or someone started it because they were passionate about changing the world or changing health or changing lives. And if they didn't show up and share that story, your business would not be where it is today. You wouldn't have what you have sitting there as an opportunity in front of you. But therefore, your story also matters, and there is no story too small. And so what Gaia said was, if I ever got to do this again, I would document, I would share the process along the way. Well, I had the honor and privilege of being a part of Gaia starting a whole nother company very recently. And she shared that story about Wild Notes on this podcast again with the amazing Mary Young, who is the owner and one of the founders of Young Living Essential Oils. And she shared how she documented the process. She learned from her previous experience, but this time from creation of the product, from how it came about, from why it came about, from the reason behind it to the packaging. Every little step of the way she documented on social media. She shared. She was an open book. And what happened was people were buying the story and the emotion and the passion and the reason more than they were buying the product. So while it was a unique product, people wouldn't have known that had they not understood the story and the why. So show the journey, show the process, document your journey. People want to be a part of what you do. You know, people will often come up to me and they won't comment on what I'm doing now. They will comment on the incredible journey they've watched me on. And any friend that I've got or anyone that's known me for a little while, when I run into them in the street, they will tap me on the shoulder and say that they love watching what Greg and I get up to and the incredible journey that we've been on in this business, because we document the process, the highs and the lows, the messy and the incredible. But if all we ever showed up with was the perfect and the end result, people wouldn't feel like they were part of it with us. And I love that people feel like they're part of that journey because they're part of our family, just like you are part of our family. You show up on this podcast, you listen to what we get up to and the lessons we learn along the way. And That's why we have the business we have today. Not because we randomly showed up one day and said, we've got this incredible product and this membership and this training that you need to be a part of. No, it's because people go, you're just like me, Sam. You've been through the hard yards. You know what it's like to show up on social media and get no results. And you figured it out. And I want to learn from you because I am like you. And people need to feel like they're like you to want to do business with you. So that's number 2. So if you want to check out any of those episodes, we'll put them all in the show notes. Definitely go listen to them. There's some incredible human beings. The last and final tip I want to give you is actually probably the most important one. And this was one that took me quite a long while to, I guess, become comfortable with myself, but I understand the importance of this. And it's also partly why I wrote my book, Show Up Anyway, because I wanted people to understand that, and you probably get that the thread through this whole episode is that perfection is actually going to kill you. It's not going to help you. It's not going to make you relatable. It's not going to have people leaning in, and it's going to be hard for you to achieve, which means you're not going to show up very often at all. So the last strategy I'm going to give you, the last tip here, is the most important, and that is to just hit record. Now, I used to keep something I call my gallery graveyard, which was where I would do a recording of a video, maybe giving a tip or a strategy or sharing something that I thought was going to be high value. And I would do my video and then I would stop the video and I'd think, no, I didn't say that right, or my hair was a little bit off, or something was not right, or the lighting was wrong. And so I'd stop, I'd hit record again, and oh, I got that word wrong, and oh, I just didn't like how I sounded there. I don't like the way I'm sitting, and I'd stop and I'd hit record again. And 10 videos down the track, I've lost all energy, I've lost all inspiration. And none of those videos ever see the light of day. And that happened to me again and again and again until I actually went over to the United States to do a training at one of the world's biggest social media marketing conferences. And at that time, Facebook Live was just on the rise. And I specifically wanted to learn everything I could about mastering this thing called Facebook Live, because I could see that it was taking off, but I could also see a lot of people going, I don't know how to use this properly. I don't know the strategy behind it. And so I wanted to become the expert at using Facebook Live effectively for business growth. Why not? It was the thing at the time. And so I went to this convention and I listened to speaker after speaker after speaker who was a professional and a specialist in this space. Some of these people were employees of Facebook themselves. And the constant message I kept hearing from these people was, here is the most important thing you need to know about mastering Facebook Live. Just hit go live. Here's the thing about it. People want to feel like they're getting the real you. And Facebook Live is a really great way to do that because they're not getting an edited version, they're getting the real you, and it's interactive. You can interact with them. And so it was really quite confronting for me because I was one of those people, just like maybe you are right now, thinking I want to get it right before I show up because I don't want to fail. I don't want to look silly. I don't want to get it wrong. What will people think if I say the wrong word or if I turn the wrong way or my hair is a little off and it's probably off today? It's always off. But the thing is that if I'm perfect when I show up, you don't relate to that. Now, I'll give you an example of this. We did a training last week. Once a year, we do a lead generation mini course, and we've just completed that. It was incredible. We had 2,000 people registered. We had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leads generated for people over the course of 3 days. It was amazing. But we did 3 days of lives. So we did 3 each day. We did a 1-hour live where we taught a part of this strategy. Now, we've been doing lives for years. But here's the reality of what happened, because technology gets to us all. Halfway through our live on day 2, for whatever reason, it just cut out. And so we had to wait, restart the computer shop. We had 1,000 people on live with us across several different locations, and it shut down. We had to restart the computer, reboot everything. We had no idea what had gone down, and we had to restart. We thought, whoa, that was a little uncomfortable. Day 3 comes about, and I'm like, great, we're going to get this right this time. Day 3 comes about, and what happens? Our microphones stopped working. We get them working, our camera shuts down. And eventually we had to completely switch platform in order to get everything back up and going. So we had to move everyone. Imagine having to do this. Hey, everyone, all 1,000 of you, we need you to move to a different location to watch the rest of this training. Guys, it happens to the best of us, but here's what happened off the back of that. I got dozens and dozens of emails from people that said, you inspired me because I felt like I couldn't do this because I didn't know how to work the technology. But they said, you not only did it, but you worked through the challenges and you kept showing up anyway. And they said, now I feel like I can do this because even the best, even the most experienced people still have technical challenges, but they keep showing up. That's the difference between someone who is successful and someone who is not. It is not their ability. It's not their capability. It's not their education. It is the fact that when they fail, they get up and they go again. And they go, you know what? I'm not going to wait to get this perfect. I am going to keep showing up because that's what I'm here to do. And that's how I learn. And that's how I get better. And so just hit record is probably the best piece of advice I can give you. Just take that photo, just hit post. I'll tell you a little secret today because you're on my podcast. There are many podcast episodes that you will find in the archives here that were never meant to see the light of day because I recorded them and I was about to hit the delete button when a little voice in the back of my head said, wait a second. You might want to delete that because it's not perfect, but you know better than that because you learned it back then in your living room where you did all those recordings and they never saw the light of day. Someone might actually need to hear that message, even though it feels like you didn't deliver it in a perfect way or the words didn't come out right or you might have felt like your energy was a little off. So what I did was each time I sent it to my team and I said, look, here's the deal. I'm feeling a little unsure about this episode. I'm ready to hit delete and I'm really open to you telling me, Sam, it's rubbish, get rid of it. But I want you to tell me if it's something I should put out there or not. And so my team will listen, and every time, without fail, what happens is they come back to me and say, that's one of the best episodes you've done yet. That's the most impactful episode you've done this year. Or that is something people need to hear. And the fact that you were a little off or you didn't feel right or you got the words wrong is actually what makes it so perfect. And so each and every time we do that, and some of the most popular episodes I've ever released have been those very episodes where people come back and go, I needed that message today, or you really touched my heart, or you really said something, or I could see that you're emotional. And I just want to remind you that sometimes those messy middles that we've already talked about are the most impactful messages that you have. So just hit record. It could be just hit record by sharing, a little thought. It could be just hit record and share a bit of the journey. It could be just hit record and share a piece of value or a piece of knowledge or something you get up to or a funny behind the scenes or anything that is you, that is raw, real, and relatable. Just hit record. Now, I want to quickly reference you to another episode I did with an amazing friend, an incredible human being, Richard Bliss Brooks. And Richard talked about this exact thing because back when he was building his social media following during COVID, he said that one of the things that he did, because he was challenged by his coach to just hit record, was he would go for a walk every day. And he would go for a walk along the ocean. He had these cliffs up near where he lived. He would go for a walk along the ocean and he would literally, as he was walking, just think, what's a thought that's popped into my mind today that I could just share? And he said that I got in the habit of every day just hitting record. And when he did that, he said his following, I can't remember the number, but his following dramatically increased by tens or even possibly hundreds of thousands. I know it was a huge amount. And so don't quote me on that, but his following increased dramatically over a very short space of time because people were leaning in going, I wonder what he's going to do today. I wonder what he's going to talk about today. I wonder what piece of value or mic drop I'm going to hear from him today. And the thing was, it was real. It was raw. It was relatable. It was not edited. It was truly him. And people really felt like they connected with the real Richard through that process. He said that it was confronting and challenging because, again, he was really used to having these properly thought out and planned marketing campaigns. But as soon as he put all that to the side and said, I'm going to start just being me, it all shifted. And so I want to really encourage you today. If any of this has spoken to you, well, you remember it's about simplifying things, not complicating it. It's not about doing more. It's not about being more technical. It's not about using more tools or techniques or strategies. It's about being more you. And many of you have forgotten to do that. Many of you actually, maybe it's not forgotten to do it, but actually think that you don't have anything to bring to the table. Well, I'm here to tell you that the very thing that your audience wants to see is probably the thing that you're withholding, which is yourself. So show up. Be real. And you just never know who needed to hear that message that you've got on your heart today. Maybe it's just a thought. Maybe it's a piece of value. Maybe it's some knowledge. Maybe it's something fun and people needed to hear that little piece of fun from you today. But whatever it is, just trust the process and know that you're not going to grow your business if you don't start by selling you first. So go and do something with this today. Action something, implement it in your business. Don't just listen to these words and let them, sort of pass through you and disappear. Take these words and use them, because these truly come from my heart to yours. These are the strategies that when I implement them in my own business, and they are a daily process for me now, my business continues to grow in leaps and bounds, but it also brings me so much more joy because I'm not caught behind a mask trying to pretend I'm something that I'm not anymore. And believe me, I've been there. We all have. So show up as you. You are perfect exactly as you are. Sending you loads of love. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. It's been so great having you here, and I really want to honor you for showing up and taking this time for yourself to do some learning and some strategizing to grow your business today. But if this episode has spoken to you, please help me spread the word too and share this episode with somebody in your life, maybe someone in your team or a family friend or a family member, whoever you think needs to hear this today. Go ahead and share it with them, and don't forget, of course, to hit that subscribe button. And last but not least, if you want to grab a copy of my book, Show Up Anyway, you can get yourself a Kindle or ebook version. You can get yourself a paperback version, but it is also now available, freshly available as an Audible book as well. And I would love to be able to impact you in that way too. So we'll put the links to that in the show notes. But the most important thing today is go and be you. You are amazing. So thank you again for tuning into this episode. That's it from me. Bye for now, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.